Hey guys, it's Danny. I'm kind of getting a little bit sick, so I'm a little sniffly, and I feel disgusting. So I thought, what a good day to make a video. First of all, what I'm talking about today is hair loss from chemo. I wanted to kind of go through the entire experience of losing my hair, including it coming back before I started talking about it, because a lot of people talk only about losing your hair and what it's like to be bald and how it's really hard and everything, but they don't talk about when it starts to grow back. But to me, I found it's kind of emotional for it to come back. So I'm going to make two parts of the chemo hair loss video. So this part I'm just going to talk about hair loss, and then the next video I'll talk about what it's like to go through your hair coming back. There's three main questions I'll go over, and I'll kind of elaborate on my own experiences. Question 1. Why do you lose your hair with chemo? So not all chemos make you lose your hair, but the ones that do, the doctors will warn you about. My chemo is called ABVD, and not everybody will lose their hair, but it's like a 99% chance that you will. So the doctors kind of prepare you for that and tell you what to expect. They even give you a time frame. Just after your first chemo, or even after your second chemo, that's about around when you're going to start losing your hair. For my type of chemo anyways. I don't know about any other ones. I know that a lot of chemos make you lose your hair, but when I would go in and get my treatments done, I found that actually it was surprising how many people weren't bald in there. I thought when you walk into an oncology office that it would be full of bald people, but there was only a handful of people, and I know some people were wearing wigs. But so the reason why the chemotherapy drugs make you lose your hair is because the chemo goes in, it's not only going after the cancer cells, which is what you want it to go after, but it's also going after any rapidly dividing cells. So it's going after your skin cells, which is why you kind of get bad skin when you're on chemo. And this is also why you feel really crappy during chemo, because the drugs are attacking those reproducing cells that are fighting in your immune system and, making you feel better. Well, when those good cells are being attacked, then they're not doing their job and breaking down, and as a result, your white blood cell count goes down, which makes you more prone to getting a cold, like me. And in these rapidly developing cells are your hair cells. So you not only lose your hair on your head, you lose your hair everywhere. And it does vary from person to person where you lose your hair or how much of your hair that you lose. I didn't start to notice the hair on my arm until way after I lost the hair on my head. So it's just different for everybody. The reason your hair grows back is just because it's temporary. The chemo's not attacking those cells anymore, and those cells keep reproducing no matter what. So even though they're reproducing when the chemo comes in and the chemo kills them off before they can do their job, they're still there when the chemo leaves, so then they go back to doing their job again, and your hair grows back. So you can kind of look at it like these cells are paralyzed while the chemo is in your system, and then when it's gone, they repair themselves and go back to normal. So hair loss can be sudden or it can be slow. For me, it was slow at first. The first few days after my second chemo, I was just thinking it's not going to happen to me. And then a few days after that, I noticed that a few little strands were coming out, and I thought, oh, okay, I can handle this, because a lot of people told me that it comes out in clumps and it's just everywhere, and it's really emotional and brutal. I would comb through my hair and get 7 or 8 strands at a time, and so I knew that it was happening, and I tried to prepare myself. And then all of a sudden, when I went to go visit my roommates, where I lived for school, that was the most traumatic for me, because all of a sudden chunks were coming out. I was in the shower and I couldn't even comb through my hair without a big clump coming out, and it was really emotional for me because I didn't have my family there. I would just cry. freaked me out. And just seeing how much there was and how I went from like 3 strands to like a big clump, it was scary. So then when I did go home, I had like a big knot in my hair at the back, and I just kept like putting my hair up in a ponytail. So eventually it became this huge knot, and I got home and my mom tried to comb it out and everything was just falling out, and we just had a big emotional like comb through my hair because she made a pile on the counter probably like that big of just my hair. It was scary. See, I didn't lose all my hair. I lost most of it. I'll put a picture. There we go. That was my picture. I'm sure if I didn't buzz it, I would have had, I would have still had my hair. It just would have been really thin. I'm still glad I buzzed it because it was an emotional thing to have it come out in chunks like that, and I figured I would lose all my hair. Okay. Question number 2. How long does it take for your hair to grow back? Now this is definitely different for everybody. For me, basically a few days after my chemo, my hair started growing back. So I started noticing the hair on my arm growing back, my hair. Every day you could notice it getting longer and longer, and it was weird because it was literally a few days after my chemo. You don't necessarily have to be done with chemo, it could grow back before, but I would, prepare for however long you're doing the treatments for. That's how long your hair will stay away for. Now, a little tip slash positive message about losing your hair and wanting it to grow back and all that. So it's just kind of a coincidence, but it was kind of cool that this happened. Tyra Banks was doing a show on things that embarrass people about themselves that they can't change. And there was this girl on there who has alopecia. And alopecia is hair loss, but she had such a severe alopecia, I forget what it's called, but it's permanent. So she'll like grow hair on her head in patches, and then they'll come out. So she always has patches of hair on her head or nothing at all. So basically she was just saying like it really stresses her out and she gets funny looks, and and it sucks because hair loss is only really viewed as, oh, that person must be sick and stuff like that. So you don't necessarily want people to think that about you. So it can be pretty embarrassing sometimes, especially I found with little kids, because they're so inquisitive and they don't know any better. So they could just point at you and be like, why does she have no hair? Or, mommy, is that a girl or a boy? And I never got that, but I did get, I would wear scarves around my head all the time, and kids would ask, why are you wearing that? And it didn't embarrass me because I'm just not that kind of person. Like, it did get to me because I still wasn't used to it myself, but I didn't get embarrassed or anything because I know that they're little kids, and I know how kids are, and they just want to know things. They're not necessarily making fun of you. So it may seem like that to some people because you're not used to your hair like that either. And when other people comment on it, it stings you a little bit. Obviously, I know there's nothing I can say to make the whole hair loss situation better, because I know nobody could make it better for me. But the reason I brought up the permanent hair loss thing with the girl that I saw on Tyra is that your situation, your symptoms are temporary. So you just have to look at it like some people can't grow their hair back at all. They have to wear wigs all of the time and things like that, as nobody wants to go through chemo. But it's something that you have to go through to get better. And if losing your hair means you're healthy for an extra 20, 50, 100 years, then why not, right? And it actually does open your eyes to new experiences that really you never would have done before, because I would have never cut my hair this short, let alone this short, or been bald. Though hair can be your security blanket, you don't always have to hide. And really, what are you hiding from? That was deep. Just know that you're not alone, because there's so many people going through this. I know people cover it up with scarves like I did, and wigs and other things like that. We're all the same. We're all going through it the exact same, and emotions are high when you lose your hair. some people can look at it and be like, oh, I'd be fine, it wouldn't be that bad, you lose your hair, I cut my hair all the time, it would grow back. But it is a long time to not have your hair, and even in the stages like mine, it's hard sometimes, because first of all, you always look the same, so you can't really style it any different until it grows out a bit. Second of all, I know people who get nervous, and I get nervous sometimes about looking like a boy. And I know nothing that I can say, like I said, it doesn't make it any less devastating. I'm not going to lie to you, it is the hardest thing I've had to go through, aside from the actual chemo. But it's the most emotional thing, other than being diagnosed with cancer. And that's what you have to think about. Why are you doing this in the first place? Because you want to cure yourself of cancer. So, it's a small bump in the road compared to getting a life to live, I think. And question number 3, what can you do about your hair loss? So obviously there's nothing you can do to get your hair back until you're done your chemo and it starts growing on its own. You can't use those fancy, sprays that the guys, just for men or whatever it is. You can't do that. It's nothing to do with your hair follicles or, rubbing your scalp so they grow back. It's nothing like that. It's all about your cells and what the chemo's doing to them. So if you want emotional help, you can talk to people like me who have been through it, or you can talk to professionals. They have therapists at the doctor's office. You can connect with groups like the Gilda's Club. They help people going through cancer and chemo and all that. And then there's also a program called Look Good, Feel Better that I've talked about before, but just thought I'd bring it up again. It's a program that helps women. They talk about makeup, how to make yourself, look good and feel better. That's basically what it is. They show you makeup techniques and show you different wigs and styles of wigs and how to tie head wraps and things like that to make the hair loss thing seem a little bit more glamorous than what you would think. So it's not just, you being bald all the time. It's going out, making yourself look good. You can be confident and strong. So I just wanted to say one more thing quickly. If it's pretty much certain that you're going to lose your hair and your doctors have talked to you about it, then I would suggest to cut it short first. So if you have really long hair like I did, then I cut it up to here and donated the rest to cancer, supporting the people. Then I went from there. So I had it short up to like here-ish. And I really liked it that length, and I never got up the guts to do it. I always wanted to cut it that short. When it was coming out, it wasn't as devastating as when it was long. So I would suggest doing that. So it's not just waiting for the inevitable to happen, it's cutting it off yourself and taking control and doing something for yourself and preparing yourself. So even when I buzzed my hair, it was the scariest thing I've ever had to do, but it was awesome because it really opened me up to new things and made me realize that I'm a stronger person than I thought I was. So that's really the end of my video. That's what I wanted to talk about with hair loss. If you guys have any other questions about hair loss or think I haven't covered enough, that's fine. Just let me know and I'll go over anything. I just had my first 3-month checkup with my oncologist, and he said that the x-ray was clear, so that's good. So now I just have to wait another 3 months. In March I'm going to go to get a CT scan and more blood work and meet with my oncologist again, and then in April I'm going to see my radiologist to talk about how things are looking. So yeah, that's about it with me, and I'll talk more about that in the next video because I have a little bit to talk about with that. So yeah, good news right now, and hopefully you guys learned something, and if not, let me know. Okay.